Hello and welcome, you beautiful bookish people. Guppy wants to say hi too. This is my first reading wrap-up. I was gonna say of 2025, but then I realized this was my first reading wrap-up ever. That's so exciting. I think I read 8 books this month. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I was right. I read 8 books. Woohoo! Which, if you think about it, that's 2 books a week. So that's pretty dang good. I know some people are sitting here like, I read 10 books in the month of January, or like 15 books in the same month. How are you okay? Because I'm a stay-at-home wife. Maybe I just read slow. I don't know. Honestly, let's just jump right in. The first book that I read this month is Ruin and Rising by Leigh Bardugo. This is the 3rd book in the Shadow and Bone trilogy. I read this in like, I don't even know, 2 or 3 days. It's not very big. It's 417 pages. It's not super daunting. All the other books too are about the same length. But basically, this story follows Alina Starkov, who is, at the beginning of the story, a map maker, a soldier, and she has to cross something called the Fold, which is basically this patch of darkness with like scary monsters in it. And while crossing, she releases a dormant magic from inside of her, and it gets connected with some politicians, some really important people, some other magic wielders, and is basically told, hey, you're the key to saving our entire continent. You need to train. So it's her training, figuring out her magic, learning that there's a little bit more going on than some people are telling her. But this is the finale, and this is like her trying to deal with all the repercussions of what she's done in the first 2 books and figure out a way to actually save the land. I'm not going to tell you what happens. I'm not going to give you much more details, but I finished this series in this month, so I'm excited. I gave Ruin and Rising 5 stars. I thought it was beautifully written. I really liked the ending to the trilogy and the resolution and all that. I love Leigh's writing. I loved the characters. I felt super connected to them. It was just all around just really good. This is the next book I read in January. I picked up Shadow and Bone because I wanted to read this book, and the reason is that this book is in the same universe as Shadow and Bone. It just follows a different set of characters, and oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, this is so good. If I could convince you to read anything, well, first of all, it would be Throne of Glass. This might be next. Actually, I'd have to think about that, but this is an immediate 6-star read. From the first 100 pages, I was like, you're joking. You're joking. I am obsessed with these characters. I think this story is so beautifully written. I've not read a bunch of like high stakes heist kind of settings, but it's in a fantasy world with magic, and it's high stakes heist, and it's found family, and there's romance, and it's just, oh my god, it's so good. So good! And I devoured it, and you should totally read it. This is on like my non-negotiable reads list. Like if you're gonna be my friend, you have to read it. No, I'm just kidding. But like, am I kidding? It is fast-paced, it keeps you on your toes, the plot twists are crazy, the story is phenomenal. It follows a set of 6. They're not crows. It doesn't follow crows, but they are crows. It's the name for the little gang that they have. Anyways, I'm not gonna get into that. But basically, they get offered a deal to do this one job that's gonna make him rich beyond their wildest dreams. And it's a super, super dangerous job that like nobody else in anywhere would even try to attempt. The majority of this book happens over like the span of a day. So when I say it's fast-paced, it's like you don't get a break, and it's so good. And they find out more about like why whoever hired them wanted this job done. They get more secrets. The romance is just so good in the middle of this. I know I already said that. When I really like a book, I repeat myself. And this is just, and there's multiple POV. Like I think it's 6. No, I think it's like 5. Yeah, but it's also nice because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 parts to this book. So this is one part, okay? So it's really easy to get through, and the chapters are, they're like medium sized. They're not super long, and some of them are pretty short, but it's super easy to just want to keep going. Like, I did not want to put this book down because literally every chapter it feels like there's something you're like, oh no, oh my god. Yeah, this is second read for January. Are we surprised? No. I had to pick this book up immediately, especially with how this ends. This is the cliffhanger, so beware. Immediately I jumped into this one. Again, 6 freaking stars. I don't know how it just keeps getting better and better. This book made me laugh. It made me sob. It's one of those that like I see an edit on TikTok or whatever and I just start crying. But aren't those books just the best? This is basically like, okay, so they completed some part of the heist in the first book, and this is like, oh hey, so the reason why we went on that is so much bigger than we originally thought, and we have to figure out how to like, okay, deal with that because crap, why did we do that? And that's all I'm going to say about this one, because obviously it's a sequel, so I'm not going to tell you what the heck happens because it would spoil the first book. But this is 6 stars as well. 6 stars, not a negotiable read. It's on that list. It has the same pacing and vibe as the first book, so if you loved that, you're gonna love the sequel. The characters just keep getting better and better. And Leigh addresses some issues in both books that, like, in real life are so important to talk about, but she does it in a really beautiful and, like, subtle way, but it's still powerful. The dynamics between the characters just... she's a genius. She's a freaking genius. And this is a duology. So if you're looking for a completed duology, they're about the first one I think is like 500 pages. This one is almost 600. They're not super intimidating. And again, it's so easy to turn the page. If you're in the mood to have a little bit of a thrill, you know, tap into your emotions a little bit, this. Now this next book was a predicted 5-star read, and boy was I right. We're talking Quicksilver by Callie Hart, which, by the way, she just announced the second book called Brimstone, and it is coming out in November. I'm so incredibly excited. Also, if you can't tell, I love this book. 5 freaking stars. I had color-coded tabs and everything. Now looking at it, I'm like, I stuck these tabs out way too far, and it bothers me. But I'm gonna keep it, because it's kind of funny. Oh, this was so good. I think it was really refreshing, because it's a lot of the, like, tropes and elements that I love in a fantasy book, but in a story that's different. Which I feel like that's so important, because, you know, you want some familiarity in some fantasy books, and obviously, like, I love the Fae aspect. I love Shadow Wielder aspect. I love world traveling and all that stuff and magical creatures. I'm not gonna lie to you. I wish the US got the discreet cover, because this is fine. I'm not a big fan of people on the cover. It's fine. That's literally the only criticism I have about this book, but it was 5 stars. This book follows Seraphine, who is a thief in her little land, and the land that she lives in, she is part of we'll call it a faction. Part of a faction that is like completely sealed off from the rest of the world. It is desert land, really harsh climate, because the queen said, oh, y'all are infected. Y'all are going to be quarantined until basically all of you are gone. And so she's trying to survive, trying to take care of her brother, trying to figure out how to live, and she finds a piece of armor from like the city guard, and she steals it, plans to like sell it, make it into something else, give it to one of the guys that she's close with, and then she gets caught. And then she gets taken to the castle, and then she has to face the queen. And during this process, she awakens something called the Quicksilver, which is basically a portal. And somebody comes through said portal and takes her back to another world. This world has Fae in it. She's like, what the crap is happening? Fae aren't supposed to exist. Who are you? And when she gets to this land, they're like, how did you wake this up? We need you to do it again. So this is her trying to figure out her magic, trying to replicate what she did, and in the process, she learns more about the Fae, the war going on in their land, and gets caught up in all of their stuff, and it's just delicious. It's so hard to give like a little blurb about these books because I want to say so much more, but I can't. That is just the tip of the iceberg. This is adult fantasy romance. Just delicious. This next book, I really hate to be doing this because I don't like to sit here and tell you, like, don't read the book. It's terrible. Because I'm not going to say that. I have DNF'd now 3 books, okay? The first book that I DNF'd ever was Sanctuary of the Shadow. that was a weird experience. I read like 50% of it and I was like, honestly, I don't care about these characters. The writing is kind of weird. The pacing is really confusing. I'm good. I kept it though because it has pretty sprayed edges. So if you liked the book and you want the sprayed edge thing, honestly message me because I will send it to you. Oh, I'm gonna get hate for this next one. I DNF'd Cruel Prince. I'm actually planning to try again because I'm having a little bit of FOMO, and I know some people love this series, and I've seen some fan art that is just so good. I don't know, it felt a little bit juvenile. I kind of messed up because I bought the whole series, but I DNF'd that. We'll come back to it. I'm so sorry if you love Cruel Prince. You have every right to be offended. But anyways, this was an arc that I received. I was super hopeful. It is called In the Name of Honor by Courtney Collins. I DNF'd it at like 20%. And I know that sounds kind of terrible because it's like, well, Brooke, like you have 80% of the book left. I wasn't a fan of the writing. It felt off for the characters because the characters were like in their 20s, almost 30s, I think. And it felt like we were in high school or middle school, and I was so confused. The romance, I could tell it was like trying to start setting that up, but it wasn't, like, it didn't feel right. And there was a lot of parts that it just felt like we were told, oh, this happened, when we could have been shown that that happened, and it would have been fantastic for character development. And I was left so confused. I'm like, why would you leave that out? I didn't understand why what they were doing was important. I didn't really care that much. It was, I don't know. And I was super intrigued because, I mean, the cover is gorgeous, and it was a half-elven princess who loses her father and has to team up with one of her guardsmen to basically go rescue him from these things called the corrupted, which are like certain creatures, which I don't know. I think probably it was also world building issues. Like we didn't really get much of the world. We just knew that the corrupted were bad creatures and somebody was captured. I was like, okay, why does that matter? Well, somebody's captured, so like it matters, and it's her father. Like I get that. I don't know. I didn't finish, and I'm so confused because there's 84 ratings on Goodreads right now, and it's sitting at a 4.2. I'm sad. It is what it is. If you want to go read it, go read it. Go read the blurb, because obviously I can't explain the whole book to you. That's all I really got. It wasn't for me. It wasn't for me. Now the next book was completely for me. I DNF'd In the Name of Honor 3 or 4 days before the release of Onyx Storm, which, spoiler, I read Onyx Storm this month. Are you really that surprised? And I needed something that I could finish in like 3 days. I didn't want to start anything like super intense. I kind of just wanted something chill. So I was scrolling Instagram, Emmy recommended Heavenly Bodies, which, okay, I have it not displayed with the dust jacket. The dust jacket is beautiful. Okay, so this is the fairy loot version, and it's beyond pretty. Like, I was so stunned by this cover, and it's like the whole thing. It's like, are you joking? And I just really loved it, and so I displayed it like this. As you can tell, I loved this book. I am so obsessed. Also, here's the sprayed edges. So pretty. I was not expecting to love this book as much as I did. I was just kind of like, oh, this is a fantasy romance, because so I got this in my romantasy box from Fairy Loot, and usually if it's like classified as a romantasy and like advertised as romantasy, not just a fantasy with romance, obviously it's more romance heavy. So I was like, okay, I'm cool with this. This world is so stinking cool. I was obsessed with these characters. Oh my god, Lorenzo. That's all I'm gonna say. I love Lorenzo. And Alara is super cool. Alara is our main character, and she is the princess / not lost-ish, just kind of lost heir to a kingdom in Celestia. And she has been basically cursed by fate and told that, oh, you're gonna not be here one day because of somebody else. So like, good luck. And it starts off as her being captured by these certain people, part of another land, and she's taken there, put in front of the king, and the king is like, hey, I need your help with this one dude, and I know that you can help me because you're part of this prophecy. And she's like, okay. So she has to train her magic and basically fight against the tyrannical rule of the stars. These are, the rulers are not very good people, and she has to figure out a way to take one of them down. It's kind of that trainer-trainee trope a little bit. Like I said, more romance heavy, and I'm so obsessed. I'm so obsessed! And the ending of this book, I love Imani's writing. Did I say Imani Erriu? She wrote this book. I love her writing. It's easy to understand, but it's super poetic and not necessarily like mature like Shakespeare, but like it's not juvenile. This is just beautiful. It's beautiful. And I'm so glad I picked this up and read it when I did, because I need more people to go read Heavenly Bodies. Yeah. Oh, and there's a ball scene. Masquerade. It is time. Guys, I loved Onyx Storm. I know there's so many people out there, they're like, yo, I didn't understand this, the pacing was weird, the writing style felt weird. No. This book was for the die-hard Fourth Wing fans. I'm convinced. We got so much more world building and setup for the next 2 books. Again, I highlighted and tabbed and everything, and I'm psychopathic. At first it was kind of jarring because I was like, okay, what's going on? What's happening? Which again, I did a vlog on this, so go watch it if you haven't. But I don't know what the frick happened. I literally don't even know what to think. Like after Iron Flame, I think my brain went crazy with like theories and trying to figure everything out. Here, I'm just like, huh? I loved getting to spend more time with these characters, and I feel like that's what this book was about, which scares me, because if she's hitting heavy with like, oh, enjoy the time with these characters while you still can, because she has said that somebody important that we love is going to die in the next book. So, Rebecca! But I love these characters. I missed this world. It's just, it's beautiful. If you have not read Fourth Wing, basically, yes, there's dragon riders, there's dragons, and they're like actually dragons. I think some series are like really bad about advertising that, hey, this book has dragons, but not actually including dragons that much. But basically, Violet Sorrengail is the main character, and she has to join the Riders Quadrant at this war college and bond with the dragon, figure out her magic, because after the dragons bond with somebody, they give them something called a signet, which is their magic. So she's going through this academy, learning about her magic. The academic setting is super nice because also it provides a lot of opportunity for character development and growth, because there's stuff happening while they're at the academy, and Violet learns about some secret stuff going on, and like, oh hey, our world might be in so much more danger than we originally thought. It's good. It's so good. She learns how to fight. She learns how to, kind of fend for herself, because, so the author has Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and she has said that she wrote Violet with that condition as well. So that's really cool. But obviously, in a fantasy world, having EDS is a little bit challenging, especially when you're riding a dragon. And the first book, 5 stars. Second book, 5 stars. This book, 5 stars. This is definitely a 5-star series for me, and it's not even finished. I know a lot of people don't like Iron Flame, and that's fine. Like, y'all are entitled to your opinion, but I also am entitled to mine, that I thought it was beautiful. I'm not gonna get into Iron Flame. I loved this book. I loved it, and I can't believe that I devoured it in 3 days, and now I have to wait probably a year or 2 for the next book. Yay! 5 stars. Oh, did I say Heavenly Bodies was 5 stars? 5 stars. The last book of January is A Dance of Lies by Brittney Arena. I posted a vlog for this too, and that one is spoiler free. Yay! I gave A Dance of Lies 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. For a debut, I thought it was phenomenal. I also realized that most of like the first novels in a series I give 4 stars, because obviously like you haven't had a ton of time to connect with the characters yet, and I think that's what I was feeling. I was like, okay, I'm not overwhelmingly obsessed right now, and if I give a book 5 stars, it's overwhelming obsession, and so that's like reserved for like best of the best of the best. But A Dance of Lies, it was so good. It was about a dancer that is wrongfully imprisoned for murder, and she is brought before her king, and her king is like, hey, if you infiltrate as my spy to this gathering royal event happening and find out some information for me, you'll be free. And she's like, okay, cool, where do I sign? Kind of. She's a little hesitant because she's like, you're a little sketchy. And so she has to go perform at this event. She's a dancer, and that's how she gets in, basically. She performs at this event for all the royals. And she has to figure out these secrets, figure out what's going on. She bonds with a couple characters. There's romance, and I think it's so good. The male main character is delicious. There's espionage, betrayal. I think it's a beautiful story because this main character is disabled as well because of her time being in prison and not basically using her body. It's a beautiful story of like, she recognizes she has limitations, but she figures out how to do it anyway. And I really like that. That was my last read. And I mean, it was a great month. I mean, besides the DNF, I rated everything very, very high. That was it. Thank you. Thank you for watching. I will see you next time.